What is your risk of dying while doing what you love? Special thanks to Chess in the Air and Clements for providing the data and illustrations. Links to them in the description. Many of us participate in activities and sports that are at least somewhat dangerous. However, most of us also do not have a full appreciation of how risky these activities really are, especially compared to other things that we could be doing instead. We just love our favorite pastime, and facing up to the risks can be stressful because we also want to feel safe while having fun. Psychologists call this type of stress cognitive dissonance, and we intuitively look for ways to remove the discomfort of our conflicting emotions, often by downplaying the risks to ourselves and to others. Here is just one such example from scuba diving, in which the author asserts that scuba diving is safer than driving a car. She does this by comparing the statistic that 1 in 5,555 people were killed in a car accident in 2008, with the statistic that only 1 out of 212,000 scuba dives ended deadly. Did you catch the fundamental flaw here? The comparison would be okay only if each car driver would drive just once a year. In reality, each car driver makes on average 2 trips per day. In other words, 730 car trips per year, which means that the 5,555 drivers drove in aggregate about 4 million times. In other words, 1 in 4 million drives ended deadly versus 1 in 212,000 scuba dives. Scuba diving is not safer than driving a car, but instead about 19 times more dangerous. No matter the sport or activity, you'll quickly find similar examples of apples to oranges comparisons and a conscious or subconscious attempt to downplay the risks. For various reasons, when conducting the research, Clements decided that the most appropriate basis of comparison is the risk of dying per hour of participating in a particular activity. This graphic that Clements came up with to facilitate the readability of the comparison benchmarks all activities against traveling on commercial airlines, which happens to be one of the safest things you can do when you leave your house. Only once in 10 million passenger hours, in other words, once in 1,141 years, will a passenger die when traveling on a commercial airline. In other words, the chance of a person dying within the next 1,000 participation hours is only 0.01%. So let's examine the graphic illustration provided by Clements to benchmark some of our favorite activities against commercial aviation. So there in the green we've got generally safe activities. In other words, 2 to 9 times as dangerous as commercial aviation. Let's have a look at driving in the United States. 1 death in 2.3 mile hours or 1 death in 262 years. Death in the next, or your chances of death in the next 1,000 hours of driving in the United States is 0.04%. That is 4 times as dangerous as commercial aviation. Let's look at cycling in the United States. Cycling has 1 death in 1.3 mile hours or 1 death in 148 years of participation time. So your chances of death in the next 1,000 hours is 0.08%. So that is 8 times as dangerous as commercial aviation. Then we get to the yellow, somewhat dangerous activities. 10 to 50 times as dangerous as commercial aviation. Let's look at the first one and the last one. Backcountry skiing in Austria. 1 death in 600,000 hours. Your chances of death in the next 1,000 hours of participation is 0.17%. 17 times as dangerous as commercial aviation. Equestrian eventing, 1 death in 200,000 hours, or 23 years. Your chances of death in the next 1,000 hours of participating is 0.5%. That's 50 times as dangerous as commercial aviation. Then dangerous activities in red, 100 to 1,000 times as dangerous as commercial aviation. Let's have a look at scuba diving. Scuba diving, 1 death in 120,000 hours, or 14 years. Your chances of death in the next 1,000 hours is 0.8%. That is 83 times as dangerous as commercial aviation. Let's have a look at skydiving. Skydiving has 1 death in 18,000 hours, or 2 years. Your chances of dying in the next 1,000 hours of skydiving is 5.6%. That is 556 times as dangerous as commercial aviations. Then we look at very dangerous activities, more than 1,000 times as dangerous as commercial aviation. Climbing the Tetons in the United States, 1 death in 8,000 hours. Your chances of death in the next 1,000 hours of participation is 12%. That is 1,250 times as dangerous as commercial aviation. Climbing the summit of Mount Everest, the final push, 1 death in 2,500 hours, or 4 months. Your chances of death in the next 1,000 hours of participating is 40%, 4,000 times as dangerous as commercial aviation. Insanely dangerous activities, more than 100,000 times as dangerous as commercial aviation. Base jumping. Base jumping has 1 death in 21 hours. Your chances of death in the next 1,000 hours of participation is 99%. 480,000 times as dangerous as commercial aviation.